Rolling now.
Right on.
Rolling! On the set!
Keep on rolling.
Okay.
Shout out to my man Fred Durst. Wouldn't be here without you.
That's a fact. Episode 2 of the Passion Collective podcast, produced by the studio at Old Ridge. Hello, Ben.
The land of Ben Durr.
Woo! And joining us, special guest, bassist extraordinaire, Sam Smith.
Very special. I used to ride the small bus when I first moved to Pine Island in Warwick, New York, where we are now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not surprising.
It was a fun experience. That was probably the most fun I've ever had riding, 2 years I've ever had riding the bus, ever. Those kids were loud. And there was 2 bus drivers. There was like a bus driver aide who was for some reason very mean to everybody. And so everybody just like freaked out the whole ride. It was an hour bus ride to and from school. It was a blast.
Pine Island, New York.
Pine Island, New York.
Where it all started.
Onions. Black
Lots
dirt,
of them.
And now a lot of weed.
Wow, times are changing.
Yeah.
So, about Pine Island, when did you start playing music?
I first started trying to play music in 5th grade, or I guess in like 4th grade, when they give you the instruments. I tried to play drums, and it never clicked, and it was very loud, and my parents were super not into it. And then, and so I did that for like 2-3 years, and then I just kind of let it fade away because I was just like playing snare drum, and it just never really clicked. I didn't have the patience at the time to like stick with it, and I wish I did, because drummers are always my favorite people to hang out with, because it's the sickest shit to like watch someone go at it. It's like a show watching someone play drums, and it's the coolest thing. And every good song has a sick drum beat, or it's like, oh my god, it's so cool that drums aren't in this. Like, there's never really like a middle ground. And I mean, there obviously is a huge middle ground. I just walked myself into a huge corner there. But but then in 8th grade, I started hanging out with other Pine Island resident, Ray Wisniewski, and
Shout out to Ray.
Yeah, all my friends played, like, everybody was like playing drums and guitar, and he had a bass, and he showed it to me, and he showed me how to play Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I was like, this is the most fun I've like ever had. And so I did that. And then I just got super into it. I used to play like video games like non-stop. I was super obsessed with like online Diablo 2 and like playing like online chess. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing nothing but this. I was like, if I buy a bass, I'm going to try, and every moment I go to play video games for a week, I'm just going to play bass, and it's just never stopped. And so
did you take lessons, or you teach yourself?
I took lessons from a good friend, Mark Sly, for a while, and then from Mike Bendy and John Bendy. They became my friends in high school, and those were the people I latched on to, like all 3 of them, and just tried to still get as much information as I can from them. Those guys are all wild. Mike and John Bendy are Pine Island people as well, and they're
incredible.
Probably the most outrageous musicians of all time. Nobody shreds harder.
Yeah, no, they're objectively ridiculous.
Yes.
So what was the first like really nice bass you got?
Definitely this one.
Like before that though, like early on, what did you play?
I guess like the first,
like not like a custom like built like that, but like a nice bass.
So the first bass like I ever bought, or I had like a Squire that I got, and then in 9th grade, Ray Wisniewski was working at Masters Orchards, and he was like, yeah, I can, like, everybody can work at Masters Orchards. It's like, super easy. And so I got to work at the hot dog stand at Masters Orchards, and it was $4.50 an hour before taxes, but I saved up enough for an Ibanez Soundgear 900, and that was the shit. It was like 2 humbuckers with active electronics, like just like this guy, but it was a through body, and it was super nice, and had a quilt maple top, and it was so much fun. And that's like all I played until through like freshman year of college, where I like wore out the frets, and then I took the frets out and like filled them in with like the wood glue or whatever, like not fake wood, but like wood filler, and like sanded it down and made it like a fretless bass, and did that for a while. And then I was like, I I need something with frets. I'm constantly out of tune. And then I bought like a Fender Jazz 5 and
In college?
yeah. And then I took that and I built a Warmoth bass, which is just like parts you grab off the internet. And I did that for a while. And then I was doing that for a couple years. And then Mike Tobias, who built this bass, saw me playing this like super beat up like Warmoth bass that I like spray painted, and it was fucked. And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to help you out," and I'm really glad he did because I love this bass. And so that's the evolution of basses that I've had.
That's a pretty sexy bass.
I agree. It's
and
a lot of fun.
What year did you get that?
I got this in 2016.
And it's custom built. You picked it.
Yeah.
Out.
So this is you can get like this exact bass. Obviously, it's not like you can. It's just the parts that they have on their website.
And like the finish and stuff, you can pick that. Right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah.
I just happened to land on these specific parts, mostly because Mike Tobias was like, "You should do this.
Yeah.
You will like this." I was a little. I mean, there's a lot of options.
No,
you know,
for sure.
It's really easy. I mean, they're all awesome. However, it is easy to pick something that's like, "Oh, I wish I went this other direction."
Yeah. So you played in like little local bands and stuff early on?
Yeah, and still to this day, even through COVID.
And did you play in the school band?
Oh yeah. I think that's where I met Ben.
Jazz band, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, we probably met before that because that was when I was a senior, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I came here, I think was in 11th grade with my band Mental Spanking. With third time, we're going to say his name, Ray Wisniewski. And that was,
Ray.
Yeah, super fucking fun. It was me, Ray, and John Stogner, which was awesome because John had I still don't know how we did it. There was never a moment in John Stogner's just like normal Volvo 850 sedan that we couldn't fit everything. We couldn't fit like...
That was my mom's van for us, yeah.
It wasn't it was a sedan. It was just like a 4-door, like no hatchback or anything. And I remember coming here, we fit me, Ray, Bobby, John, my amp, Ray's amp, John's drum set.
I worked with John Stogner at Miller Ski and Sport for years. He's such a good guy. Knew his family. It's such a good guy.
Ever.
There was the scene in Warwick. I think about it, like circling back to that idea, that question about like coming from here and all the like people that you grew up with. Like just listing them off is insane.
Yeah,
you think about where we came from, and
it's super cool because
it's amazing. Like, what a great place to grow up, like musically.
So I think really what it was, I think it's like a combination of three things. One, there's nothing to do. So that like leaves a void of like how do you fill your time. 2, there was Tuscan Cafe, which there was Tuscan Cafe, there was Doc Fry, and then there was like a bunch of VFWs,
all over.
And then there was the third aspect of there was always like older dudes who were like willing to like be like, or like felt like we should pass this down.
Yeah.
Because somebody passed it down to us, and if we don't, it'll stop. And that's kind of how it like evolves, that it's like, hey, I spent a bunch of time to figure out this like trick. If I had this mentality years before, it would have been a really strong weapon to have. And I think those three things, when in combination, create like a really strong scene because it like perpetuates itself. It has a place to go, and nobody's really distracted. You know,
we're all grown up, so there was no like we're living with our parents, and there's no like monetary restrictions, and we're just like out creating, and there's a social aspect to it too, but also obviously because we're like an affluent place, Warwick,
Yes.
It's like, oh, I need a drum kit. It's like, okay, I think about that all the time, access to those things, We
were very, very blessed without
100%.
Like to be in a situation where it's like, I could work at Maskers and like keep that money for myself and didn't have to like,
exactly.
And my mom would drive me to Maskers. Like she had the free time to wake up at 6:30 in the morning, Saturday mornings, to like pick me and Ray up, and then Ray's mom would drive us the other days, or like Ray's dad, my dad, and like to be in a situation where it's like, like we can give you like a situation to create the opportunity to like learn and have fun and like take a void of like there's not a lot to do in Pine Island,
especially Pine Island.
Yeah, like
But there's also, besides that, there are a lot of great music teachers around here too.
So
like
back to
music educators.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I diverted from the
No,
high
but
school
even
band.
besides like the high school band, like Mike Hickey teaching drums, the bendies, like
Yep.
a lot of like really studious.
Chrisprasad is like my all-time hero.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was like the summer before ninth grade. I was super into playing bass. And honestly, I wasn't really into telling people I played bass because there was like a bunch of kids that would like, not a bunch of kids, but like a handful of kids that were like super dicks to me. And they all played music. And I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to like, I'm just going to keep this to myself. And my mom was like, yeah, that's very silly. And my friend Dennis Shannon, he was in high school band. And my mom was like, yeah, you should do that with him. I was like, I don't know. I think that's a bad idea. And so then like the first day of high school, they like give out the schedules and it was like, yeah, second period, you're in band. I was like, fuck. And it was Chrisprasad. And he was like, what, are you going to play drums? Like you never.
So what grade was that?
That was in ninth grade. He was like,
Okay.
you never put any time into it. When I met you in sixth grade, he was like, why should you do this now? I was like, I love playing bass. And he was like, if you learn how to play like a bass clef instrument, so next year when like Mike Garafalo was a senior when I was a freshman, he was like, when he graduates, you can play bass in like the jazz band and stuff. But he's like, but you have to spend this year and like
Playing a horn or something?
Yeah, and he was like, you have to pick like an instrument that's in bass clef and learn how to play it. And he's like, you have to put the time into it. He's like, and if you do that, you know, I'll deal with you.
You could play electric bass.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, cool. And so I picked tuba, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, and because there was like 100 kids in there, and they're all like hanging out and like playing music, and it's all like freshmen to seniors, and everybody was so nice to each other. And I was like, okay, I think I had the wrong mentality about this. Nobody's gonna tease me for not being good. They're gonna be like, hey, yeah, you like doing this?
Yeah, it's like a
That's all it
community.
is.
It's a community.
It's all about passion.
That's all it is. There's no like you have to be at this level. It's just like, no, do you enjoy doing this?
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So
Then that's it.
Yeah,
And Chrisprasad was like, I remember thinking he was the coolest dude because he was like, yeah, I'll teach you how to play bass and stuff. I was like, oh, do you play bass? He was like, no, that doesn't really matter. I play music. And I was like, that's the most like Zen thing my 14-year-old mind like ever heard. And like all the things he always showed me, he was always like, yeah, I don't really play like any of these things, but I understand like how it works. I'm into like these aspects of it. And like, and I'll always look back, I'm like, I don't know how he like organized all that stuff and dealt with like probably like 100
Yeah, a
30
crazy,
kids.
crazy amount of kids.
Yeah, that were like, some kids were fucking nuts,
yeah,
you know?
it's a
And
lot
It's
of.
like that jazz band was good.
So
I
much
remember I have like
fun.
distinct memories of going. I don't know, it was like Cedar Point or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we maybe it wasn't Cedar Point. I don't know. One of those like amusement parks, and you would always have solos. Like Prasad would always give you like solos to play, and it was
What,
gold with
Dorsey Park or
distinction. Gold with
something? Which
distinction
one?
every time.
So, and
was
that,
great.
the like jazz band stuff, that's just like an after school club.
Yeah.
They probably didn't like,
Fund it.
or I mean, like,
Yeah, I mean-
the funding for it, he probably had to just like find.
Exactly.
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
just like
Yep.
because like the instruments everybody played that like really just came out of like you hope I mean either like the band budget or like parents' pockets, but not like an after school club
Yeah.
budget that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so like all of those things like he spent the time to figure all of that out because it's all stuff that I'm like I have no idea how that works.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And
know.
he introduced us to such good material. Like I heard
Exactly.
Boogie Stop Shuffle the first time
Yeah.
a jazz band. You know, like all those tunes that otherwise I wasn't really listening to. It was
I
great.
I remember Chrisprasad showed me Herbie Hancock, and he was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Yeah, I'm super into this Jacko stuff," and he was like, "Yeah, like who's the keyboard player on it?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know," and he was like, well, "Maybe you should like open up the CD and read it, dude."
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like the first person to be like, "Yeah, there's like." You know, there's like a story behind all of this, like the same thing as like the community of like just like Warwick homies like playing punk music. It's
So
like,
so he like helped you kind of broaden your horizons in jazz fusion and stuff.
oh, definitely, yeah.
Because early on you were big into like Nirvana and what other bands like that early on. Like when you said Smells Like Teen Spirit was like the first.
So yeah, I remember when I really loved Thrice, and I really loved like a lot of punk, and I mean I still love
Yes,
Thrice. I
Thrice.
still love No Effects.
course, yeah.
I still love this band called The Bronx. I mean, the Bronx. It's weird. Their name is the Bronx, and so I always feel like you have to say it's a band called the Bronx.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the place, the Bronx, because they're from L.A. and I always think that's the coolest thing. Just like, yeah, this city 3,000 miles away. Let's name our band that. And I think they're one of the coolest bands ever. Still, they've done like a bunch of albums, and then they got asked to do like a talk show where all the bands on it were always like mariachi bands, and we're like, all right, yeah. And so they like reformatted their songs to like mariachi, and then did a mariachi album,
Really?
and
That's
it's
amazing.
fire.
That's
it's
amazing.
fire.
So then, when you first,
And I've always loved Jacko.
yeah, that's what I was gonna get. So how'd you first get into him though? From like Nirvana.
Fourth time,
That.
fourth Ray bomb.
Oh my god.
Me and Ray were hanging out, and we were like super into like NoFX and Rancid, and like Matt Freeman in Rancid, and what's the dude in fucking NoFX, Fat Mike.
Yeah.
They're wild at bass. They're super fast, and we were like 13, and we were like, let's just type into Google world's best bass player. And so, of
Wow.
course, because that's what Jacko was always like, yeah, I'm the world's best bass player.
That's
and
such a
because
bass
he,
player.
he is. And so, like, open it up, and it was him playing Chromatic Fantasy. And I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. I remember I had like
And how old were you?
I was 13, and I had the,
Wow.
what is it? It was one of the it was some super shitty computer that had a 2 gig hard drive.
Gateway?
Yeah, it was a Gateway 2000. It was a 2 gig hard drive with 256 or 8 like MB of RAM, and like the super shitty speakers. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is like the coolest thing I've ever heard. I was like, he did that on a Fender bass. So I was like, this guy must shred. And then we listened to Portrait of Tracy and like Continuum. And I just remember sitting there, I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah, your
That
mind
some-
blown.
Yeah, like some dude pushed it that far. And I was obsessed with Primus. And then after like a year of playing bass, I was like, wait, that dude's Les Claypool's playing bass? And that was like, those were like the two like mind melted moments
Like,
that it's like, you
life-changing.
can do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Change
this
your
is
life.
dumb. Yeah. Because like, I love Rancid and NoFX and all that music still. However, it's like it's different.
No, it's
Yeah.
a lot different than Primus.
Yeah,
and
like,
Jacko.
because you can't really put labels on that.
Yeah.
They are who they are.
Completely original.
Yeah.
Like totally. So you said after high school in Warwick, you went to college, and you went to college in New Paltz, correct?
Well, I did. I went to school at SUNY Binghamton for 2 years.
Okay.
Which was super fun, and I got to do like they had like this crazy jazz band, and this guy Mike Carbone was the jazz band director, and he like really schooled me. He's the one who like showed me like jazz standards and like a lot of like the really traditional. Or I guess like traditional stuff. He was like one of the first people to be like, hey, yeah, there's like a real lineage that like if you're going to be into like guys like Jacko, you really should get into like the people that Jacko listened to, because he's like a true artist that like he really studied all those guys, like all those people, and like that's how Jacko became Jacko. Like if you're just going to listen to Jacko, like it's going to be, you're not going to get the full picture. And he was like one of the first people to like show me that, and showed me like the art of like transcribing, and like, yeah, like you're supposed to like, it like really pays off to sit down with albums and figure it out. And it's really frustrating and it's really hard, but it's just like any other muscle. If you work it, you get better at it. And I remember he had this class. It was like jazz combo, and he was like, I remember freshman year, I got into the jazz band, and I was third chair in bass. There's like 2 kids that were like first chair and second chair. He's like, yeah, man, like I'll let you do this, like I'll let you in the class, but you have to do this other class with it, where it's like kind of just like a boot camp, and it was pretty cool. And it met once or twice a week, but every week you had to come in with a bit more of a like solo transcribed, and everybody was so good. And I could not hang. And it was like a super ass-kicking experience. And there was this woman, Camille Thurman, who was in the class, and she's like one of the lead saxophone players in the Wynton Marsalis like Lincoln
Wow.
Jazz Center Orchestra now. She is like one of the most incredible musicians ever.
She was
And-
your age, or she was teaching there?
Or she was she was a senior when I was a
Okay,
freshman, and
yeah.
she was also in this class and did the big band jazz band. And I remember her like showing me so many things about like how to make bass lines, how to transcribe things, and being like, yeah, if you like put time into this, it will pay off. Like, you can't get worse at it. You know,
Yeah.
like you're just gonna get better. And it was a super great 2 years of college, and then I was like going home all the time to like hang out with like John Bendy and play with them. And I was like, if I go to school in New Paltz, like I can like play music all the time and like learn from him. And I was super in that. And so that after 2 years at Binghamton, I transferred to New Paltz and did that, and like was hanging out with Jeremy Truitt all the time and Damian Jackson. And it was super
Awesome.
fun.
Yeah. So, and plus you're closer to the city. Mm-hmm. And so about the
The
new
Mecca point.
about the New Paltz music scene. It definitely has a thriving music scene that you've tapped into a few times over the years.
And I still love to. Yeah. That's one of the most fun things. New Paltz has got a really cool community aspect to it, that there's like two parts of New Paltz. I mean, there's a lot of parts of New Paltz, but there's like two parts of the music scene. There's like the college crowd that's like always changing, you know, and always like rolling over. And then there's the people who live in New Paltz who like really book the venues that like that are there. They live in New Paltz. That's their home. And like you have this like constantly rotating crowd of like new fans you can attract, and then the venue promoters and like the people who like book shows and that like live in New Paltz. You can always keep going back with them and like keep getting these new crowds and like seeing how like new people interact with it, and you can always say the Matthew McConaughey lines like, "Man, these girls keep getting older and I stay the same age."
Exactly.
Yeah, and like just every time it's just like you feel just like older and
That's
older.
so real.
Yeah,
I didn't
like-
even go to New Paltz, but I ended up there all the time because of my friends, and they kept going back for like 4 years after they graduated, and every time it
yeah.
felt more and more like.
I lived in New Paltz. I lived in New Paltz for 2 years with Damien and Jeremy after I graduated, because I was like, "This is fucking dope." There used to be Oasis, Cabs, Snugs, Bacchus, this place Grimaldi's, and then like
Twins, or what was that?
or Quinn's is in Beacon,
Oh,
but
it's
that
in
was
Beacon,
just
yeah.
right on Main Street
Yep.
of New Paltz in like a 2-block shot, and then there was 1,000,001 house parties to play, like cafes, whatever.
People are really good about the house parties,
and
like
so-
opening up their basements and shit. Like it was awesome.
Throw down keggers.
And so when I graduated, I was like, I am just like obsessed with playing music right now, and like I can play like a few times a week.
So were you in
walking
Just a Tip
distance.
then? Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep just shredding with Damien and Jeremy until I get sick of New Paltz. And so I like was in school in New Paltz for 2 years and then lived there for 2 years, and so 4 in total.
So when was the Breakfast for the Boys era in those 2 years too?
And that's when I met Aubrey Haddard.
Yeah.
And that's when we did Breakfast with the Boys, which was some of the most fun musical
Incredible
experiences
project.
I've ever had in my life. Thank you.
Seriously, I really love that project.
I saw you guys at Apple Fest. You
Yeah,
did
that was
fantastic.
so
Yeah,
much.
that
You
was
should
great.
check out Aubrey's
I do.
music.
I
It's-
follow her on Instagram.
Aubrey Haddard is one of the best musicians
awesome.
I've ever met in my life, and she's the nicest person.
Great
Yeah.
songwriter, great voice,
Yeah.
great guitarist.
One of the songs that's on the album we're
Yeah.
about to put out, Tough Crowd, Aubrey sang on it, and it's called Behold the
Really?
Queen. Yeah, we should listen to that
no,
at some
I
point.
definitely want to check that out.
And that's Jeremy Truitt on drums.
Perfect. So yeah, about the album. So after a lot of
An
years,
album, Anal Bum.
after a lot of years and a lot of different projects, playing a lot of different shows all over, you have the band that you're currently in called
The sticker wore away. Art Thief.
Art Thief.
Yes.
And you guys have a new album coming out called.
Tough Crowd.
And how many songs are on it?
It's 14 songs. It's like 30 and a half minutes. And yeah, we're going to start releasing like singles from it. We're going to release like 4 singles from it. I think sometime in February, the first one's going to pop off. And then we're going to do like one every 2 weeks and then do the full album.
So on this album, a lot of your musician friends that you have history with and have played with and collaborated with over the years played different parts on this album, correct? It's not just like a 4-man thing. It's
No.
it's a cast of characters.
Yes,
that all have history with you and have come in and out of your life at different points. Right?
Without a doubt, yeah.
That's really cool.
So Art Thief has had like a few different names. It kind of started. It's always been me and my buddy Andrew Tompkins, Andrew Jordan
On guitar.
And so me and him started a band a few years ago called Cheap Date. And it would be like me, him, our buddy Elliot Steele would play keys, and then Kopchak would play drums, and Jeremy Truitt would play drums, and it'd be like morphing members. And then over time, we were like, all right, yeah, we want to start doing like adding some originals in there. And that's when Elliot moved to Washington, and I started living with Brian Ponton, our keyboard player.
Yeah.
And he has his he was college roommates with Joe Spinelli, and so Joe would always come to the house, and we were like, yeah, this would be a fun group to put together. And like me and Kopchak had like Commenton going at the time, and like anytime that was like a period of time where it was like, yeah, anytime like we put a throw together band together, I just think of a new band name, and so it was Tyrannosaurus Sex, and so like Cheap Date kind of morphed into Tyrannosaurus Sex, and then there was another local band named Tyrannosaurus Sex that we were like getting, they were like from like Jersey, I think, like North Jersey, and I think they were like a few years younger than us, and we were like people in New Paltz were like, I guess like hitting both of us up for shows, and like
that can't be real.
And like, but I think and like some people, but it wasn't like, it was like some people were actually trying to reach them,
Yeah.
and some people were trying to reach us, and like and so we were just like, all right, you guys can gladly have it. And so then we were going by
Tyrannosaurus Sex 182.
Yeah, and so and that was like right about the time I released a 6-song EP like December last year, and my Instagram handle was Decently Dangerous, and so we were like, let's just go by that.
Yeah,
and then that. Yeah, and I've never really been into that name like fully. I've always been like, yeah, this works. And then
Art Thief is definitely the best.
Yeah, and then when I turned 30 in July, and I was like, oh yeah, Art Thief is cool. And so I was like, fuck it, let's change. So I think I'm going to do Art Thief until I'm 40. And then when I'm 40, I have this idea that I've always really wanted to do, where I want to do a live, like, musical sitcom, where it's like a musical, but in sitcom format.
So,
and
like,
it's live. So you, like, the first show is episode 1, and then the second show is episode 2. So if you didn't go to the first show, you have no idea what the fuck is going on.
Zapp and
Seinfeld. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so I feel like it's like I've got 10 years, or I guess like 9.5 now to figure it out how I will do that.
Well, that's pretty creative.
So I've got a 9.5 year run on Art Thief right now.
So I love that. You know, like put a stopper to it. You know, there's an end date, so we're just gonna go hard at this, and then it's sitcom time.
It's
then
done.
I don't look back. Yeah, that's
I
it.
agree.
It's over.
I agree. So on this album, how many different people played? I'm sure a lot of them you already mentioned. So you got Brian Kopchak.
We've got Brian Kopchak
on drums.
We've got Brian Kopchak on drums, Jeremy Truitt on drums, Joe Spinelli on drums, Dan Frankenhusen on cello, Aubrey Haddard sings, Julia Green sings, Andrew Jordan plays guitar, Damian Jackson plays guitar, Chris Wiseman plays guitar, Brian Ponton plays keys, and I'm trying to think. Give me a moment. Let's go through the songs.
It's a cast of characters.
Oh, and then Steve Frieder plays saxophone and flute.
Nice.
Good thing I thought for a second. I'm like trying to go through the songs.
Yeah, you don't want to leave anybody out. I kind of put you on the spot. I knew there was a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that is it.
So did you? How long has this album? I know there's some old songs, right? On it, or are they all new? Like the writing process for this. How long is this album? When did you like decide? You put the EP out, right? When did you say last November?
Yeah, that was like last November.
Okay, and then after you put that out, you're like full length album.
Yeah, I wanted to do like a full, because the 6-song EP, that was like my. It's just like, I think it's 12 minutes, but I was like, I want to try and do like a jazz fusion punk album, and
nice.
You know, it was super fun. But it's definitely different, and I'm glad it's different than what we're doing now.
For sure.
And and so I decided, I was like, yeah, I want to do like more of a full length thing, and I want to do a thing that's like song wise goes from like the lyrics down rather than we have a song and then put lyrics to it. And so,
Like write the lyrics first.
well, it was everything started off as like a groove or like
Yeah.
a motif first, and then I would put lyrics to it, and then it would be like, all right, how does this motif change to make it so the lyrics turn into like a story?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And like fit things like that with the mentality where it's like, yeah, if someone's listening to a song, like the words and like the vocals are usually like up front, like the attention grabber. So everything should like fall in line behind that. And that was kind of like the thought process.
And where do you guys record this?
All in my bedroom.
All in your bedroom.
Yeah.
And then you had who mix it?
I brought it to my good buddy Chris Wiseman. And so Chris is a wild, wild musician. He has two bands called Currents, and the other is Shadow of Intent. And they're like the two heaviest bands you'll like ever listen to. And he does it all in his bedroom. And so we met like 2 years ago, and I was like, you do this all in your like, it's this heavy just in your bedroom, and like he just does like such like a light setup, and I was like, this is insane, this is insanity.
Super stripped down setup and just
yeah,
get
it's
so
super
much out of it.
yeah, it's like super modern. Like he'll use all like the digital amps and stuff, like the Kemper stuff, like the Axe effects, and he's just really quick and really smart. And like I tried like mixing it with like a few different friends, and it was like going really well. And then I went over to, he was like, yeah, come over, let me just check it out. And I was like, I don't know if he's gonna be into it. And he was like, this is a lot of fun. This is like different than what I'm used to, because he like a lot of his clientele, I believe, are like usually like wild
like
metal,
hardcore,
wild metal
Yeah.
bands.
Metalcore and all that. Yeah.
I'm not really sure where in the world of metal, but like heavier music,
Yes.
definitely heavier. And it all sounds so good. Like everything he touches, like times we'd hang out, he'd show me things. He'd be like, yeah, somebody just sent me like this guitar profile, and they were like, could you like turn this into an album for us? And then we'll come at a later time and like record vocals like in your like booth. And so he would take like the guitar profiles and like play them, or like do like MIDI drums and like MIDI bass and stuff. And like you'd listen to it and be like, I don't understand how you did this.
It's honestly amazing, like, as we've gotten older, how much the technology's been accessible. Like, you have a lot of people, like Billie Eilish's brother, they're like writing hit records in their bedroom, and it's a whole different, scene now.
It's a really cool
game.
It's a really cool world when you're like super in computer land with sounds and with rhythms to make them human.
Yeah.
To make it so it's like, yeah, like there's a grid. However, it's like we're not going to quantize these things. Like there has to have to be human element to it. And then like playing through digital amps, like what are the tricks to make it sound real?
Yes.
What are the tricks to make like a digital recording sound real? To make it sound like warm? To make it sound big?
It's a feeling.
I moved to those like quite a few, like 3 or 4 years ago, and I like almost never mic an amp now. If I'm like doing a multi-track recording, or if I'm making like any kind of creative work, it's like gives you so much flexibility. It's like, why would you not? And then figure out the way to make it warm afterwards and whatever you need to do.
On this album, I actually did mic the amp just because the amp modeler I have was just like a freebie that came with like a bass modeler that I got. Yeah. And it, the amp, right before quarantine started, my buddy Lee from the band me and Kopchak had Common Tongue. He left his like Wagner amp
guitarist.
at the house, and it's like a $3,000 amp. And so I've got like the worst Squire guitar ever, but with that, it's like it's disgusting. And then I've got a bunch of sick plugins that you know just like tweak it. And like once I started doing that, I was like, oh, actually. Like I was like, I am stuck with the sound, but it is better than the modeler I have. But Chris is another story. Yeah. And so like when I started bringing the stuff to Chris Wiseman, it was like so quick how fast he worked and like how big it sounded. And like I would bring it home to Ponton, keyboard homie, and he was
incredible keys player.
Oh yeah, just life-saving hero.
And you guys live together.
Yeah. We've lived together for years.
Team.
Oh, it's super fun. And and so every time I would like bring it home to him, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, like we have to work with this guy. Like this is super crazy." And so it was fun. I would like ride my bike over to Chris's this summer, like because he lives in Beacon, I live in Newburgh. I'd like ride over the bridge and like we'd like mix the music and like I'd ride back and like we'd do a song like each time and I'd go over like twice a week. And then I was like, yeah, I need to like get this mastered now. And I was like, yeah, I met this guy, Alan Douches, a few years ago. I was playing across the street from where I live in Newburgh right now in this house doing like a fundraiser for Newburgh Illuminated. And it was me, this keyboard player, Neil Alexander, a drummer, Hector B., and then the singer from In Living Color, Corey Glover. And we played like this fundraiser for the Newburgh Illuminated Festival. And the guy who was doing live sound was this guy, Alan Douches. And I was playing upright bass, and I don't really play upright bass. And like when he like showed me the playback, it sounded so good. I was like, how did you do this? Yeah. And so he was like super like, oh, you're curious? I'll show you. And he was always super friendly with me. And then Julia Green, who sings on this, also was friends with him. And there'd be a few times she was recording stuff at his house. And like, I just went over there and I was like, oh wait, you're Alan Douches. And then like I went online and like looked up his catalog. I was like, this guy's insane. Yeah, and professional. Like I was like going over to his house like a handful of times, and he showed me his like mastering room. And in his basement, he has like a 10-foot high ceiling basement, and he has the room inside a room where you like open a door and it's like a heavy door, and then you open the other door inwards and it's a heavy door, and you go in and he's got this seat that's like kind of like almost in the ground, leaning back, and just like the wildest speaker setup ever, and it's just this.
So he mastered this?
Yeah, and it's this perfectly shaped room, and that was like 2 years ago. He showed me that, and then when I had all this stuff, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna see if Alan's into it, and I sent it to him, and he's like my hero. I've realized like I've listened to at least one album that Alan Douches has mastered every week of my life since I was 12. And
really?
Yeah, because he's
like that.
Yeah, well, he did Keysby Nights by Catch-22. He did Leviathan by Mastodon. He's done he's done a bunch of the Every Time I Die stuff, a bunch of the Dillinger Escape Plan stuff.
Holy crap! This like guy's right in Beacon?
No, he lives where Julia always drove. Is it where Cornwall? It's
okay,
like
Cornwall. Yeah.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah, he's done like all the Misfits stuff. I'm pretty sure he remastered the Rumors album, like he did the remake. That's what Julia told me the other day when we were hanging out. He's got like a list that it's like so long, it's like tough to like go through it. I hope I'm wrong on that.
I was already excited to listen to the album, and now I'm like, even that much
name?
more excited.
What's his last name?
Douches.
How do you spell that?
Like a douche with an S. Okay. So Douches.
Yeah. That's a pretty. Now I'm excited. What
And so I was like landscaping in like September with my buddies. Like it was the sweet like job. My friends Lance Bookbinder and Sarah Anjali who got me on. And check out Sarah Anjali's music. It is awesome. She is, for lack of a better word, a vocal freak. She's boss. And so like working with them, and like Lance is wild on drums. So I did this because he's got this crazy electronic drum pad.
I like that.
That he like makes wild beats on. But like I got to work with them for like through the fall and into the beginning of the winter, and like we would just like listen to music and talk about music, and we were like landscaping one day, and like Alan Douches called me. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm into doing it. This will be sick." And I was like, "Holy shit, this is."
That's amazing.
Let's. What song do you want to? Yeah, Cannibal Corpse, Converge.
Yeah, he's done all the Converge stuff.
Yeah, let's
Actually,
Darkest Hour.
I don't think he's done Every Time I Die stuff. It's Converge that I was thinking of. I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Darkest Hour, Havoc. That band's heavy. So yeah, what song do you want to listen to? Drowning Pool, 6 Feet Under. I want to hear that Aubrey song.
Yeah, let's do that. That one's called Behold the Queen.
Behold the Queen. Okay, cool. Do we want to do the whole thing, or do we want to do a chunk of it? What do you think?
How long is it?
I think it's 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, let's just play it.
All right, great.
It's in the, you got the folder or whatever. Perching on the branches of a tree, for some nature to be the queen. I think I like her. I think I like her. Little bee, buzzing
Sick.
Thank you.
She's so good.
Oh yeah, Aubrey's
She
queen.
She's incredible.
Was that just cello?
Huh?
Was that just cello on the in the mix there in the beginning of that song? Or is
yeah.
that multiple strings? That was beautiful.
I'm pretty sure Dan just played cello, but he sent multiple cello
It's
tracks.
gorgeous, and with the
Thanks.
electric piano, it's such a nice
Yeah,
texture.
Brian Ponton.
Awesome
oh my
textures.
God, that's
And
Dan Frank
beautiful.
Who played drums on that?
That was Jeremy Truitt.
Yeah.
The golden child, the truth.
Oh my
Yes.
God, I
Jeremy
haven't seen him
Bin
play in
Truitt.
so long.
The truest.
He's got finesse. He's got finesse.
Oh man, he's probably my favorite human being. He's crazy.
Yeah, you guys are tight. So damn, that was a really good song.
Thanks, man.
And what number is that on the album?
That's actually the last song. That's number 14.
Really?
The finale.
I like that.
The Sibelius.
That's a good placement.
That was an awful joke. I just looked at it. I was like, maybe Ben has
like
music notation software. Ah!
Yeah.
No,
Sibelius.
that's that's really, really good. Killer bass playing as
Thanks,
always.
man.
Were you on the lead too?
Yeah. So,
That was a really great sound.
I guess the layering of that song, like the intro, is I forget if it's 2 or if it's 3 or 4. I think it's 3 cello tracks, and then 2 Aubreys, or is it just 1 Aubrey up front? It's probably 2, and then I'm always into multiples, and then Brian Ponton, and then like the verse of it, and like is like a shred type bass thing, where it's like a fast like plucking type thing, where it's like in the background, like that's not it. It's like something in that vein, and then with like a sub bass track underneath with using like the Boss OC2, which is like the ultimate like sub bass way to make a bass sound like a keyboard bass, and then with like keys over it, and then the solo that happens is I love the sound of when Jacko would like double his bass solos, like in his song Continuum. There's like 2 and probably like maybe like 3 Jackos going on. Like there's 2 at all times, but sometimes it's like, is there a third one? Like this is wild, and I love that sound of like, because it's never going to be perfect, you know.
There's there's like an elegant rawness. To it.
And especially because like he would do it on fretless, so like his pitch is never going to be exactly the same.
Yep.
Like he's a human being.
Yes.
At the end of it, I hope this building doesn't catch on fire now that I said that.
or your bass.
Oh God.
Electrocutes you.
Yeah, and so what I did with that, and there's another bass solo on the album on the song Instagram song, but on this one I did it. I did the solo on this bass. Then I have a Fodera 4-string.
Yeah.
I did it on, and then I have an MTD fretless 4-string that I
So-
did it twice on that. So there's 4.
About the MTD, are you endorsed by them?
Yes, I am very proudly.
So you're proudly endorsed by them, and then what about amplifiers? What do you?
For amplifiers, I use Trickfish amplification. I've used a lot of amps before. Trickfish is by far, I feel like, the cleanest that I've run into, especially with the DI on
So
the
you have a good
Trickfish.
relationship with them?
Without a doubt, they are super awesome.
Awesome.
Justin Huth and Ryan are some of the nicest people ever.
Awesome. So the
Buy a Trickfish amp.
you heard him. You heard him. And the bass.
Buy an MTD bass. Buy a Trickfish amp.
There he is, getting your money's worth. So you said there's another bass solo on Instagram song, which I think, did you guys play that during the live stream at the studio? at Old Ridge?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that song, actually, the first time that me, Andrew, Joe, and Brian like ever hung out to like rehearse because we had like a show coming up, that we like wrote that song. That was
Really?
like the first time we ever hung out. We were like just like jamming, and then we were like, oh, this would be fun.
Yeah.
That works. That's a keeper. Yeah, and it was sweet because like we rehearsed, we like played a gig, and then like a month like went by, and we were like, wait, what was that song? And like I thankfully like cell phone video. I think I did like an Instagram story of it. I was like, I have it somewhere, and I found it, and then
Yeah, some great,
kept it.
some great songs come from jamming for sure.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's kind of tough to just create an idea out of nothing. Just like, oh
Yeah.
shit, it's there.
No, especially full band setting.
Oh hell yeah. There's a lot of elements other than just like there's a chord and
Yes.
like a note. You know.
Yeah, and stuff changes. You might like have an idea and then bring it to a band, and it transforms into something completely
I was gonna
different.
say, seeing somebody else's perspective is like the way to be a human being.
Yes,
you know.
and yes, for sure.
And it can be really tough a lot of times. Like if you have a song, you have an idea, and like somebody's like, "Hey, check out this hard truth," you know,
Exactly.
and it could be a really great learning experience. A nice way to
Big ego
get the
check.
ego check. Yeah, get the ego in check real quick.
So, let's listen to one more song on that album before we get into a few other things and,
Sure.
and then wrap it up. But I want to hear a song that, for everybody that missed it, tune in and watch Sam Smith and Art Thief. Their the live stream that they did at the studio at Old Ridge. You can find it on the Studio at Old Ridge Facebook page. It
That was
is
a blast.
excellent.
Egg salad.
1000%. Tune in. You will not be sorry. But what else do you want to show us?
Can we listen to the song "Catch and Release"?
Yes. Let's listen to that one.
Yes.
Great song.
That one was,
Did you
oh my
guys
God.
play it last night at your gig?
Yeah.
And that was the first gig that you guys played?
Yeah, that's like we've all like I've been doing like a church service still every week. They do like a Zoom
Yeah,
thing.
that's awesome.
And like
Virtual.
yeah, and like I've played at this like we played at this like taco place in Beacon, Tito Santana's.
Yeah.
Best tacos and burritos in Beacon.
But last
No.
night was the first official gig.
Which was
Full
super
sound,
fun.
Awesome
Yep.
stage,
And
good acoustics.
And the Falcon is like my favorite place in the world. And so to
Yeah.
like be able to just like hang out and go was super
See
fun.
some friends probably for the first time.
Exactly, yeah. And they've got like the whole like air control thing going on.
Yeah.
Like
The
doors open and like
everything's
super
safe.
spacious. And
Yeah.
so it's like they're one of the few places that has like the ability
To
to
do
like
that, to
morph
do it right.
into like the like, well, if it was this, you could have like
Yeah.
a little event.
The
you know,
tables just cut it down by 50%.
Yeah,
whatever.
and
filter the air.
it's gonna sound weird, but thankfully there weren't. Well, a lot of people didn't go, you know.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, just like a handful of friends that it was like we could it was very cool.
But it was
you know?
awesome. Did you guys play this song last night?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's check it out. Catch and Release.
It's about fishing. I'll never know why these silly fish fall for my bait every single time.
Smoking. So there's a few. Is there a time change in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes.
What's that first shift? Is that 7 or what?
No. So it's in 4.
Yeah,
And
and
then
then-
there's a bar of 2, and then it goes to 3/4. But
Okay.
it's like a 4/3
Yeah.
beat. So like it's in 3/4. So like the thing before it.
Yeah, that.
I fucked it up going back.
Yeah, that's
but,
sick.
Yeah, it's so I guess like the dotted 8th note
Yeah.
becomes the beat.
Okay. Yeah.
And then Kopechek hammers that on the bass drum, which is
Yeah.
dope. So it
Crushes
it
it.
flips. But it kind of goes back to the thing we were talking about before, where it was like, yeah, I like the lyrics, whereas the lyrics lined up that I was like, yeah, if it like in a sentence to get to I was caught and was released, I was like, I need to like leave out 2 beats. So
Yeah.
all right. Like
Made it
I wouldn't
happen,
have
though.
done that like just like writing notes and then like putting the words to it later. It's like if you go the opposite way, it's like that's where you'll find the like, oh, there's a time change in this thing, but it's like meant to go with that.
Yeah. How
Right,
many?
There's a higher power, a little bit.
How many songs on the album do you sing lead vocals on?
Can I see the list of songs?
Sure, yeah. And we should talk about the vocoder too.
Yeah,
That's
for
really,
sure.
really prevalent in catch and release. There's a lot of vocoders.
1,
Awesome.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I sing on 9 of the
Nice.
songs.
9 songs,
Is that
everybody.
the
9
most singing
songs.
that you've done on an official
I've
release?
never sang on anything
That's
before.
what I'm
yeah.
saying. This is new for you. That's big.
It was super fun. It was a super fun experience to like, and try and figure it out. My friend Sarah Anjali that I brought up before, she's helped a whole lot.
Yeah.
She's really good at figuring out like the right way to say like, hey, you're kind of doing this. You want to do this. It sounds good, but it sounds bad.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
the like, hey, I am your friend and I am helping you.
Of course. And like Ben said, how long?
She's never said anything sounds bad, but
Yeah.
she's like, she
You
really
get
knows
the
how
point.
to.
You read between the lines.
Yes, she knows how to be very helpful.
Got to be honest to get better.
For sure.
That's just
Hell
how it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
How long have you been fucking around with the vocoder though?
So the vocoder do another Pine Island homie, Matt
Don't
Johnson.
say Ray again.
Oh, so Matt Johnson, me and him have been friends forever, and we've always like played music together. And I was always trying to like get into vocoding because when we were in 6th grade, his older brother Andrew showed me Daft Punk, and I thought that was he showed me one more time, and I was like, and he showed me one more time and Around the World. I was like, this is the coolest shit I've ever heard in my life, and like still, like I still listen to that music all the time. Like this is fucking wild, and their
Stadiums.
live albums from that time, from like 2007, 2008, the vocoding shit they do is unfucking real. It's unfucking real. And so I bought like a micro Korg, and I was like trying to vocode with that, and I wasn't really getting it. And then Matt bought this pedal. It was the Boss VO1, and like it's meant to use your guitar as like a vocoder, and like the guitar is like a little too high pitched for it. And he brought it up to Beacon one time. He's like, dude, check this out. And I was like, I plugged the bass into it. I was like, this is cheating. And so that was like the original like kind of start of like Tyrannosaurus Sex, Decently Dangerous Art Thief was like, yeah, I'm gonna vocode songs, and like we do
Live.
like Zeppelin tunes and like Christina Aguilera songs and like shit like that where like I
Beautiful.
vocode it.
The stream was awesome. That was so
Super
much fun. That was
and
great.
like we'd like fuck around with that, and then like I would always like that was like my thing. I was like, yeah, I want to get super into vocoding with the bass as the controller. But then once like quarantine started, I realized like, why am I always using the bass to vocode? Because I have like over the years I've bought like a bunch of pedals to try and vocode in a bunch of things, and it never really worked except this Boss one. Like I've spent way too much fucking money trying to get it to work. Definitely over $1,000 trying to
Really?
get it to work over the years. But now like I feel comfortable with the way it works, and like so catch and release. All of the vocoding on that is just from a keyboard, like I've got like a Yamaha keyboard, and it's like the lead, it's like a synth lead sound on it,
Right.
And I'll just drop it a few octaves, and then into one of the electro harmonics voice box pedals, and it's super fun. And
It sounds awesome.
And there's like a few layers of it. There's one layer, or there's two layers. No, one layer is just like the note on top. They're like, I was caught and I was released. And then there's like the chords, and then there's like a bass one in it where it's like, or like whatever over it, and then like vocoded that bass line with the keyboard, and then it's a super fun trick to use it too, like because the vocals going through it. I love Primus, and I think one of the coolest things Les Claypool does vocally is like he can probably sing, but like most of his songs, like he'll make like a character. And like he'll goof around, and so I've always really liked the idea of like when somebody's fishing and like they do the catch and release thing. Like, what is it like to be the fish? Like, could you?
And that's
like,
kind of the textures that you create with the vocoder give that feel. It's very, it's lapping and it's kind of
aquatic.
chaotic, but it's always it has that like steady, that 3/4 feel where it's like you feel that steady kind of rhythmic pulse.
It's like a wave going over it.
Exactly.
But yeah, like I tried to. There's two like normal vocals like in there also, like singing and like doing a thing, and I tried to do a thing where like would someone be like make other voices in it, like goofy voices or like a low voice or whatever, and then like at certain moments for like background vocals I would like put in like the vocoder in like random moments, like the first line, like oh my, there's like vocoders and like a few voices doing it, because I was like like the sickest hip hop bands like will all like be jumping around doing the lyrics with each other. I was like, what if we did it with jazz fusion?
Yeah, make it playful, you know. That's
for
good.
Sure.
And then like it makes it a thing where it's like you're doing these lyrics like so many times over, like in your bedroom, like after like you sat outside with the bass like in the notepad, like sitting there like working them out, like how would this work? Like what's the rhyme scheme? Like I want it to rhyme like here and here and here, and like I want it to flow like this. Yeah, because it's like, oh my, I'll never know why these silly fish fall for my bait every single time. And even though they know to stay away from me, they seem to love my treats and how they're nearly free. Tough price to pay for a breath of fresh air, but they don't seem to mind and they don't seem to care. They seem to love this high, and I can tell you why. They spend their lives swimming and can finally say, I was caught and have been released. With this rod, I'm a god to them. I give them a high that I could never comprehend. I wish I was a fish and someone would catch me, and for a moment fear that I would never be released. And then, it works because it's always, like I tried to make it rhyme. I mean,
well, it sounds like the way that you craft your lyrics is similar to the way is like reflected in the way that you craft your harmony. Like that chorus, when you like break down into that chorus part, the arrangement there is incredible.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
it's so clear that you had sat with that and like so carefully went through it, and it's just
also the tension and release.
Exactly.
No pun
It's
intended, but
so
just like all the words, like everything has its place and everything's very particular, and it all like creates this larger picture. It's really beautifully thought out.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But that was like the goal, because like originally when I wrote the song, it was the words were, she's got a really nice butt, I bet she takes really nice dumps. And I was like, yeah, this,
you heard it here.
and like I had like all like the parts, and I was like, this is trash.
This deserves more.
Yeah, and I was
I think
more
the
attention.
lyrics that you just said were a little
yeah,
better.
and so that was kind of because like we had like a few songs that like I was like getting more into like writing lyrics, and I was like, yeah, it's a lot harder to just like to sit there and like be like, yeah, like I want to have like a concept and idea, and I'm gonna write a story around that. Like
That's meaningful.
Where it's like that would be dope to be a fish, get caught, and for like a split second be like, what the fuck is going on? And then you have to go back and explain it.
Yeah.
And like you
Kind
have
of
to
like being
tell,
abducted by aliens.
yeah, and like fish don't speak.
I mean, in any spectrum that we can understand, yeah. Whales sing to each other, right?
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of
Dolphins
miles.
communicate, but they're not
I don't.
semantics.
to catch a
They're
dolphin,
mammals.
yeah.
I feel like the guy that like, because I was like riding my bike and I saw this dude fishing, and I was like, I was like, oh yeah, I was like, there's an idea for a song, because I was just like, yeah, I need to like get an idea, because like all the songs on the album are all like it's like, oh yeah, like what's like a jumping off point lyrically for like an idea. Like the first song, Alley Cat, is like there's this cat that hangs out in our backyard, and so I like melded like the cat with like a chick I liked in high school, and it's like, let's put it together.
Yeah, and that's what alley cat means.
Yeah.
Can mean like a girl that sleeps around and stuff too.
Oh, I kind of meant it more in the way that it's like they're not coming inside. Like
Exactly.
Like they hang out
what I mean.
outside. They're
Yeah.
they're not coming in. They're
Yeah.
not going to be part of your life. Like it's not your cat.
Exactly.
That's its own cat, and it's
Yeah.
way tougher than you can ever fucking deal with. Like that was
Exactly.
kind of what I was going for.
They're not like domesticated right away. Like that.
They live in their own
Yes.
plane that it's like, I wish I could do that. And then, yeah, like a weed is tight is just about smoking weed. And just like, I was like, yeah, like my mom was like complaining to me about like kids who like, she works in the high school, and she's like, these kids will be vaping, and I know they're vaping weed. And so I was like, yeah, these kids, like, it'd be funny to like make a song of like, I just want to school and smoke weed with my friends. And so it's all just like shit like that stuck in space. Is like I was super into that movie Space Odyssey 2001. It's like
Yep.
and that movie Prometheus, the precursor
yeah.
to the Alien movies. Like being stuck in space is fucking terrifying.
Yep.
Where it's like, yeah, you're not, or like Alien, like, yeah, like get home. Yeah, good luck.
Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, like it was really tough to build this spacecraft on Earth.
No GPS.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that. There's an aspect of your music where it's not like taking itself too seriously, and you write things that are playful, and you're painting like different pictures and everything. It's not this like jazz fusion that's like you're gonna listen to jazz now, like just throwing stuff in your face. You're like, I'm writing a song.
That's like
that's
one of the best parts about Sam, and I respect him about that, because to that point, a lot of people in that scene turn into snobs, and like the snobbery is very real, and that's like not you,
Well,
like, at all.
So honestly, a lot of it
Funny
comes
story.
from being a snob and being like, fuck that shit. Like I want to do like this. Like why? Or like, I'm being a snob about it. Because I love jazz fusion. I love playing jazz. However, there is the very obvious element to it that people don't like it. Like, and like I've been to like I love going to like shred fests and like being a part of shred fest, but like a lot of times like you'll see like these older guys like doing it, and they'll be getting mad at the crowd that they're like not into it, and they'll be talking, and like they'll think the crowd is disrespectful, and then but once you see it enough times, it's like it's not the crowd that's being disrespectful. It's almost you. It's like, this is very fun. However, at a certain moment, like if they're clearly like, oh my God, I don't want to listen to this, it comes to a point where it's like, well, this is a little selfish. You were doing this for you.
Right.
You're not doing, because like you could have just done this at home. However, now you're really only doing this because you're getting paid a little bit of money.
some money.
Yeah. And now you're getting mad that
Yeah.
the few people that are here, because this is their place to hang out, you didn't even get them to come out. You're getting mad that they're not into like your shred fest, where it's like you're purposely trying to push harmony and like do these like really beautifully complicated and beautifully like boundary pushing things that you kind of have to expect that it's like people might not like seeing like a live experiment. And like I love jamming, and the majority of the shows that I have done in my life that I've been like, that was so much fun, we jammed, and it can be really cool, but however there is like a gray area that you can cross over, and usually when you put the words jazz fusion to something, you have crossed over into that area where it's like you're going to be pushing boundaries on purpose. And a lot of times it's like you got to read the room. Like there are moments where it's like, dude, we should probably play some Creedence Clearwater songs.
Reel it in a little bit.
Like we should. And that's one of my favorite things about playing music with Andrew over the past like decade, is he's always like been like that like other like voice of reason to me, where he's been like, yeah, people like these songs. Why don't we just play these songs? Like people like them.
Right.
It'll be so much fun. Like everybody will be in a good mood, and like
See,
and
I love cover songs. I think it's some people are just like, no, I'll never play a cover song. I'm like, it's fun.
And
man.
so
Do
and like
something with it.
because
Yeah.
Andrew wants to learn like everything from like the most meticulous like Herbie stuff to like let's learn like whatever, something that people are just gonna really like wedding songs and stuff. Like we should. Like why not learn it? Like those are great songs.
No, that's what was cool about your set.
If you're only going to take
your set here.
Me and Andrew have spent like a decade trying to like figure out because we played at the Falcon last night and like we played like 13, 14 songs of the Falcon. I think like 6 of them we played here at the live stream, and like we still have like hours of music that like
that's awesome.
We haven't played at these two, and it's like we have like a catalog of nonsense, and that's not even touching like the like what if we did like all like the Jacko tunes we know and like all the jazz fusion stuff that I just spent the past like 5 minutes being a total douche about.
No, I think back to what you're saying though. I think it comes down to expectation, right? I think some people think that they put a certain amount of time into getting something together, and they expect that means that they deserve a certain amount of attention or money. And I think you can tell when artists go on stage and they're like, we're having fun. If you have some money, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But it's like, we don't have an expectation. We like doing this, and we're doing this because we like doing it. And if you like it too, then that's
it.
That's
Really
cool.
should be fun.
That's fun. Yeah, that's
it.
It.
If it's not fun,
don't bother.
You got sold something that like, because it is easy to like get roped up in it, and not have fun and be trying to like do like push limits and like do things and like search for something, and not get all the feedback that you want, not end up in a spot where it's like, oh, that was fucking killer, that was sick, that was whatever, like where you listen back to it and be like, oh god, oh Jesus, that was bad. That shit happens, and but like you have to do that, and you have to. I feel like it's really important to recognize that it's like, this will work here and that won't there, and like to be able to mold, and because that is like the essence of. That is a big essence of like playing jazz music. Jazz music always changes. Yeah. And like Coltrane, Miles Davis, like Herbie Hancock, Jacko, like all the best guys like reinvent themselves, like reinvented themselves
again.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we're supposed to be improvising and acting in the moment. That last record already happened. That was that moment. We are not there anymore. That'd be weird to keep doing that.
Exactly.
And
So when
rant over.
No, and everything you said makes total sense. When is this album coming out, and where can people find it?
So I am going to have physical copies of it in the next like 2 weeks that you can order from me personally, but it will be on all streaming services. I'm going to start releasing singles of it through Sonder House, which is my buddy Kyle Saunders' label. He's been super helpful with me to me, like figuring out that like, hey, this is how we're going to like game plan all
With
this
the logistics
stuff.
Of the release.
And so I'm pretty sure we're aiming for like. I'm assuming it's like mid-February, end of February, to like start releasing like singles, and then probably like April to like do the whole album.
So you guys are gonna do a real proper rollout?
I think so. Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah, because we've been making music videos and stuff, and like doing the whole thing, and like doing like promo and stuff. That it's like, let's keep burning it. Like, why just throw it all away?
No, that's the way to do it for sure. Well, I can't wait to listen to the whole thing. I think. You guys are going to get a lot of great feedback.
I hope so. And, at the very least, Ben and Zach will listen to it. So
I will love it. So I'm going to,
thank you guys so much.
I'll share it and buy it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, thank you guys so much for inviting me to do this. Super fun.
No, it was awesome. Thanks for coming. Absolute pleasure. And, I look forward to listening to the album and seeing you play live sometime.
Thanks, man. Yeah, always a blast, Zach. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you around.
I have to piss like a motherfucker.